Since the Industrial Revolution, tunnels have become an opportunity to connect two points that nature kept apart. Thanks to excavations, roads have been created to link distant cities, neighboring countries, and even means of transportation that have helped reduce urban chaos in cities. However, not all tunnels are the same. Often they hide terrifying mysteries, unrevealed secrets, unknown stories. In fact, almost as if the spirits of nature roam these damp cavities seeking revenge, men who enter them encounter strange events that have no explanation. But of all the tunnels in the world, from the United States to China, from Russia to Brazil, Drakelow is the most chilling of all. It dates back to World War II, and all kinds of deaths and paranormal apparitions have been reported within its walls. Keep watching to discover them all. There's something odd happening a few miles away from Kingsford Country Park. It is a real mystery that has been terrorizing the inhabitants of Staffordshire since World War II. In England, everyone knows about the rumors, but the men and women who live in the area have been witnesses themselves. They have seen the strange events that occur in what is probably the most terrifying tunnel in the world. Don't you know it? It's the Quadratic Drakelow tunnels, a complex subterranean labyrinth that stretches over 23,000 meters squared and runs about 3.5 miles long. Its origin stems from the need to find a safe place for the industry to operate incognito while England was being bombed by the Nazi army, and it soon became a governmental matter. This project was developed as a secret underground factory, designed to operate from the shadows, and was run by the Rover Car Company. Engines were built there for dozens of wartime machines, from aircraft to combat vehicles. However, before operations could start, its construction was one of the most difficult jobs at the time. From the first day, workers moved in stealthy crews that got lost in these two huge tunnels that looked like holes and were capable of leading the unfortunate to the bottom of hell. Each tunnel seemed to lead to an assured death, and each day the crews had to choose which one they would enter to do their work. The men went in at night and came out during the day in an exhaustive, body-wrenching march. Their work consisted of removing debris, excavating, moving machinery, wiring corridors with electricity, and installing ventilation ducts. However, the most dangerous job was to carry out the controlled explosions. The specialists placed the dynamite and took shelter from its blast. The sound was atrocious. Each explosive tore the stone, destroyed everything in its path, and, of course, resulted in dozens of accidents. The number of people who worked on these operations is unknown, but the work was a real battle against attrition and time. The Army needed replacement machinery parts, and they were determined to deliver them. Thus, in 1943, about 700 employees of the Rover Company entered the tunnels, prepared to work under the shelter of those subway roads. They thought nothing could harm them, at least nothing from this world. During the construction, over 7 people lost their lives in strange circumstances. Their tragic accidents went unnoticed by the Rover Company, but they left traces in the tunnels. One day, a man finished his assigned duties. He decided to walk out of the tunnel and call it a day. However, when he was going towards the tunnel's entrance, one of the vaults collapsed, killing him instantly. Another man was on the conveyor belts when the side debris of the tunnel gave way under the weight of the ceiling dome and buried him, which resulted in a horrible and gruesome death. To add insult to injury, the surface didn't seem much safer either. A woman named Marianne Brettel, who was working in the tunnels because most men were being sent to the war front, was run over by one of the many trucks on the construction site. Also, a security officer died a few kilometers from the tunnel in a mysterious accident while on his way to work. Over time, numerous researchers discovered hidden sections of the tunnel. These were tiny corridors leading to even smaller rooms, where some sort of satanic rituals were performed. There were inscriptions in Aramaic, decomposed animal carcasses, and all sorts of satanic drawings. From then on, these discoveries were mixed with the numerous stories of the deceased, something that terrified the workers. Many left their jobs and others were afraid to go there. Still, over time, the tunnels were open to the public. That's when civilians were able to witness the terrifying realities that many workers had refused to share to avoid being fired or reported to the authorities. Today, the site has been dismantled, but those who have visited the Drakelow tunnels say they felt someone or something was watching them. From time to time, they felt invisible hands hovering over their bodies or tugging at their hair. It seems that no one is safe from the strange sensations. In fact, along the lines of the tunnels, the sound of footsteps and distorted echoes can be heard from the corners that have been abandoned for decades. Sometimes there is the sound of machinery as if someone was manipulating it. And people hear the voice of an unknown man or the lament of a woman no one knows. Many have also seen the ghost of a man who, according to the records, is Oswald, an old worker who prowls the tunnel trying to get someone to listen to him. His behavior is extremely varied. Sometimes visitors mistake him for a random person, follow his instructions, and accompany him through certain parts of the tunnel until he ends up disappearing, while the terrified men and women flee the scene. Other times he becomes aggressive. He curses, threatens, and shouts at everyone he encounters. His death remains a mystery, but it is believed that he was buried in one of the hidden corridors of the labyrinthine tunnel. Not just anyone, but in tunnels 1 and 4, the places where the greatest number of paranormal activities has been recorded since 1967. Most of the reported events have occurred in these spaces. Some people who have inspected the site have heard an old radio from the 1940s playing the same old song, with a rusty, amorphous sound that becomes monstrous in the tunnel. When they follow the sound, a man in his 40s with a decomposed face is seen floating in the air. When the man notices that there are other people in the tunnel, he just stands there, listening to the music from a radio that no one has managed to find. There are dozens of stories like these. Each of the tunnels offers a chance for visitors to get the scare of their lives. Maybe that's why people keep visiting it, in an attempt to discover the legend of the haunted tunnels that keep awakening fears among the inhabitants of the area since World War II. No one knows how to explain what is going on in the place. Psychics, priests, and an infinite number of scholars have gone there, but they all seem to conclude the same thing. The tunnel is haunted, and the paranormal activity inside seems to have merged with that of the mountain itself. Will this place ever be a safe zone again? Will it have a future use? Will it be sealed once and for all to give peace to the spirits inside? No one knows the answer. Like this mysterious place, there are countless other places in the world plagued by real mysteries. The world of the paranormal and the spooky come together in these areas that you can get to know by watching the following videos.